Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're talking about the PTE Academic Summarize a Group Discussion. If this part of the exam seems a little bit chaotic because there are too many speakers, there's a lot of ideas, and it's a lot of information to put together during the 3-minute audio, well then this video will help to make it feel more organized and simplified. Today we're taking a practical approach at how to summarize a group discussion. Now this section is actually quite new. In 2025, they were doing a trial period to see if the question would stay on the test indefinitely, and it is. We're going to look at how to take notes properly, how not to overthink your notes, and 2 really important strategies to help you improve your speaking part. So I'm Scott from hzadeducation. Every week we upload videos to help you pass the PTE Academic test with flying colors. We understand that people are using PTE Academic for immigration, for job searching, for moving to a new country or university, and so getting a high score is important to you and it's important to us. If any of this information feels overwhelming or you would like one-on-one help, do get in touch with us with the contact information down below so we can coach you along the way to your successful PTE Academic. Let's get back. Taking a look at writing strategies first. Now I have 2 tips for the writing section. The first one is when you are listening to the 3-minute audio with multiple speakers, there's going to be a lot of information. And you're allowed to take notes. In fact, it's suggested that you take notes. Without notes, this would be a lot of information to remember and probably you wouldn't get a high score. So the first thing you're going to do is start to develop a habit where you listen to a chunk of information first before writing down that key piece of idea. So if you hear one word, write a word. Hear another word, write a word. This approach is going to destroy your content score and you won't get the maximum points here. Instead, we're going to listen to the audio for about 5 seconds, maybe 5 to 8 seconds until the speaker shares one full sentence. Then you write that down, write down the full sentence. This helps in 2 really important ways. It transfers the information from your short-term memory to your long-term memory because you're writing a full sentence. Then that long-term memory is able to be used when you are speaking the quick summary. So you're actually able to share ideas better rather than just words strung together. It's a good habit for PTE, it's a good habit for university, and we can use this in multiple different ways. If you follow this process, you'll get a high content score for Summarize a Group Discussion. Moving on, let's look at tip number 2, which is don't overthink your notes. Now, this is a strategy I've been working a lot with one-on-one with our students because I understand that when you write down information, it's really hard to piece that together again. This is where you have to develop your own type of note-taking skill. Get comfortable with your notes. If you write something like, "The city is always moving forward," when you read those notes and you're going to speak, you might be confused at why cities are moving. This doesn't grammatically make sense. Cities can't move forward. So instead you might get jumbled. When you are reading your notes, don't overthink it. Just say what you have written because this is going to match the audio very closely and the AI algorithm is looking for similar content. It does a poor job at understanding your logical flow or connecting to the main ideas, but what the AI algorithm does catch very well, as we've noticed, is sentences written and spoken verbatim. Okay, ready to start practicing? We're going to listen to the audio together, and right now we're just practicing our note-taking skills. Later, I'll give you more tips on how to improve your speaking skills because that's really what matters. So stay tuned to the end of the video where we have more tips on your speaking. Right now, let's listen and take notes. Follow along with me.
I've been studying here in Australia for 6 months now, and honestly, it's been life-changing. I've grown so much just from being in a new environment. The independence, the cultural exposure, it's all been incredible.
I agree with some of that, but I also think people underestimate how hard it is at the beginning. I struggled a lot with homesickness in my first few weeks, plus adjusting to the education system here was way harder than I expected.
Same here. I had this image in my head of constant travel and meeting new people. But the reality was that I had to budget carefully and focus on academics. That being said, I've definitely become more resilient.
That's fair. It's not always easy, but I think the challenges are part of the learning. I've made friends from all over the world, and it's opened my mind to so many perspectives.
Yeah, I won't deny that. Once I got used to everything, I started to enjoy it more. I joined a few student groups, and that really helped me feel.
I used to say, if I hear AI one more time, I'm gonna lose it. But Monday.com is super easy to
less isolated.
One thing that surprised me was how supportive the university was. The International Student Office was super helpful when I had visa questions or felt overwhelmed.
I think studying abroad teaches you life skills in a way that textbooks can't. You learn to solve problems, adapt quickly, and manage your time better.
True, but it would be nice if the costs were lower. Between rent, tuition, and groceries, it adds up fast.
Definitely. But in the end, I think the benefits outweigh the downsides. It's not perfect, but it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Okay, so keep those notes because in just a few minutes, we're going to practice the speaking part for Summarize a Group Discussion. Now, quick pause before moving on. If you find that this information is helping to simplify this part of the exam, go ahead, like and subscribe to our channel because we really appreciate it, but it also helps you to get more content to help you boost your score when you take the exam for PTE Academic. Let's continue. Moving on to the speaking strategies, which are the most important. So tip number 3 is to not speak for 2 minutes. Okay, so for this section of the exam, you hear 3 minutes of an audio. You have 10 seconds to prepare. And then you have up to maximum of 2 minutes to speak. And many students have thought in the past that the more I say, the more chances I could get a high score. And this is simply just not true. In fact, the more you speak, the more likely you are to make mistakes, ramble on, or not get the right content that you need. So don't speak for the full 2 minutes. 50 seconds to a minute and 10 seconds seems to be that perfect window. We've tested this out with a lot of different mock exams from the Pearson website, and around 50 seconds to a minute is the best. This gives you enough time to read out your content, get the main ideas, and not make too many mistakes. The longer you speak, the more you hesitate, you repeat yourself, and you perhaps misalign information. So quality over quantity. We're going for 1 minute at most. Tip number 4 is about paraphrasing. Now, I highly recommend do not paraphrase the information unless you feel extremely confident in this particular audio. If it's a subject that you know well or you just understood it perfectly, try to avoid paraphrasing. Why do we do this? Well, actually, if you start to paraphrase, you begin to change the meaning of the audio and you might start to add your own vocabulary, your own ideas, biases, or knowledge, like pre-existing knowledge. This makes more room for error. And in fact, the AI algorithm is looking for very closely aligned content. So read directly from your sentences. Don't try to paraphrase. If it says, "This is a once-in-a-lifetime experience," you can say, "This is a once-in-a-lifetime experience." You'll get full marks for that. Now, tip number 5, and perhaps the most important tip. When we were writing our notes, did you see that I didn't write speaker 1, speaker 2, speaker 3? That is intentional. After many months of taking many practice tests, we've cracked the code that the AI algorithm really doesn't need to know who is speaker 1, speaker 2, speaker 3. In fact, it doesn't increase your marks, nor does it decrease your marks if you say this. So if it helps you to feel more organized and helps the logic in your speech, then it's okay. You can do that. You can also address them by the male or the female, or if there's multiple, you might say the only male and the 2 females. However, it's not necessary, so you can simply just say they or the person, or just stick to your sentence like we'll do in just a moment. Are you ready to practice with me? We're going to listen to the audio one more time, and then you'll have 10 seconds to prepare and 2 minutes to speak, but we won't be speaking for 2 minutes. Let's go ahead.
I've been studying here in Australia for 6 months now, and honestly, it's been life-changing. I've grown so much just from being in a new environment. The independence, the cultural exposure, it's all been incredible.
I agree with some of that, but I also think people underestimate how hard it is at the beginning. I struggled a lot with homesickness in my first few weeks, plus adjusting to the education system here was way harder than I expected.
Same here. I had this image in my head of constant travel and meeting new people. But the reality was that I had to budget carefully and focus on academics. That being said, I've definitely become more resilient.
That's fair. It's not always easy, but I think the challenges are part of the learning. I've made friends from all over the world, and it's opened my mind to so many perspectives.
Yeah, I won't deny that. Once I got used to everything, I started to enjoy it more. I joined a few student groups, and that really helped me feel less isolated.
One thing that surprised me was how supportive the university was. The International Student Office was super helpful when I had visa questions or felt overwhelmed.
I think studying abroad teaches you life skills in a way that textbooks can't. You learn to solve problems, adapt quickly, and manage your time better.
True, but it would be nice if the costs were lower. Between rent, tuition, and groceries, it adds up fast.
Definitely. But in the end, I think the benefits outweigh the downsides. It's not perfect, but it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Okay. The discussion is about studying in Australia for 6 months and about how it has been a life-changing event. One student said she had gained a lot and from cultural exposure. However, they mentioned that some people underestimate how hard it is because of the struggle of adjusting to the educational system when studying abroad. They also talked about how studying abroad gives you this image of traveling, but the reality was focusing on budgeting and academics. They agreed that challenges are part of the learning process and help to open their mind to new perspectives. One student joined student groups, and the International Student Office was very helpful. They also mentioned that studying abroad teaches you new skills and helps you to manage your time more effectively. Although rent and tuition add up fast, they agreed that it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. So go ahead, practice this at home by yourself. Make sure you stay around 1 minute for your speaking time. You're not overthinking your notes, you're not using complex grammar or big vocabulary words, and that you're just following the sentences that you have written down. We don't need to identify speaker 1, 2, or 3. This simplifies the speaking part and helps you to maximize your score for Summarize a Group Discussion. Now, before you leave, go back to the beginning of the video and try it from the top, listening to the audio, giving 10 seconds, and then sharing your 1 minute of speech. You'll find that these strategies that we've talked about today will help you to feel more comfortable and get a higher score for Summarize a Group Discussion. Practice alone doesn't improve your skill. Strategy is where it's at. Now, if you found this information helpful, please go ahead, like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, have a good one.